Good morning, how are you? We're on an early one this morning. It is currently 8:30 and I'm trying to get this filmed before I need to go into Zoom meetings for the day. So it's a little bit dark, it's a little bit miserable. Spring keeps doing its thing, it keeps coming and going and coming and it's like the biggest tease. Like, we'll have some sunshine, let's have a storm. And that's currently what we're in. We have, I think it's the tail end of a storm that we've got. But it's dark, it's miserable, it's cold. That's why I'm wearing my big fleecy thing. But work with what we've got. It'll be fine. My name's Samantha. This is my Stitch Your Library series. This is actually my very first proper update where I will be showing you what I'm making. I did the intro video last week, so if you haven't seen that, if you pop over, it'll explain exactly what I'm doing. These are just going to be short little weekly videos just to let you know what I've done out of my Stitch Your Library stuff. So, if you have watched last week's video, you will know what I'm going to show you. If you haven't, I'll show you in a second. Firstly, I'm going to show you my Ravelry page. In fact, let's get rid of my face. We had a little bit of a rejiggle. There is stuff missing off here that was not on here last week. That was on here last week that I've decided I'm either not going to make or the person that I was making it for didn't want it. So, for example, I have these two Mario double knitting scarves, but I also had a Star Wars one and I had two Colourwork Star Wars hats. Now, the Colourwork Star Wars things were for my now 12-year-old. It was his birthday at the weekend. And he has decided that at 12 he is now too old for character hats. And I'm like, they're adult-sized hats, but he's just at that age now. So we got rid of the Star Wars stuff in there. I can always go back and get them again. There were free patterns. But because they're Star Wars, I wouldn't be able to put them in my shop. So unless I'm making them for somebody, there would be no point. So I've taken them off the list just now. I have taken a few other things off the list because I went through the first page and I think I mentioned this before. A lot of people took the patterns off Ravelry, and because I'm doing it from my oldest patterns to my newest patterns, it means that some of the patterns have been there for quite a long time and they might not be available anymore. So I went through, I got rid of the patterns off the first page that I'm not going to be doing because they're no longer appropriate for the person. And I then went through and checked that all the patterns are still available, either via Ravelry or via a website or something. So the only one that isn't available anymore is this, the Antique Alice in Wonderland spats. However, I understand the premise behind them and I really, really like them. So I've kept them on there because I'm still going to make them even though there's no pattern. I might possibly be able to put them up as a free pattern so that it's still available for people. We shall see. We'll see how I actually get on with them. In my brain, this works. But apart from anything else, I'm just going to be working my way through this list. So the first thing up is, let me show you. First thing up is the Aran Hearts, which is this one. It's a Yarn Inspirations pattern. It's a free pattern. There's in a few different colours there. So this one has been up for a very, very long time. And let's see, it was a good picture too. So you can see on this one, there's the popcorns at the side, there's the diamond pattern, then there's popcorn hearts, and then it just repeats on the other side. The blankets work from side to side. And I haven't had an awful lot of chance to work on it. If you've watched my podcast, you'll have seen that I was finishing off my son's birthday blanket. But I'll show you what I've been doing. I have my two hooks, because you have to use two different hooks for the different patterns. I'm using a 5.5 and a 6mm, which is an I and a J clover hooks. Pro tip, if you are having to use two different hooks for a project, make sure they're the same brand, because if you ever try to change hooks during a project, you will know that all crochet hooks are not created equal. So I have this 6mm hook. This 6mm hook might not be the same size exactly as another 6mm hook that I own. So if you keep them within the same brand, the sizing should be like relative to each other, if you know what I mean. So I have my clover hooks that I'm using for this, 5.5, 6mm. The yarn that I'm using, I got from Lovecrafts, and it's, oh god, that's very shiny, Nako. I don't know what language it's in. I'll see if I can. The colour is salmon. I don't know if that's even gonna, no. Ooh, you can kind of see it there. It's colour number 10687. It's 100% acrylic. It is a 100-gram ball. It is Aran weight. And I can't read most of what's on it. Weirdly though, it's Aran weight, but it says on it to use a 3mm hook, which I don't think is entirely right. But I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but there's no way that's focusing, it's tiny. Yeah, it says to use a 3mm hook and 4 or 5 needles, but it's Aran weight yarn, so I don't know. It's all very odd. I've never used this stuff before. It's not, I've got it on my wool genie. Look, this is the colour. It says that it's salmon, but to me it's more of like a peachy kind of colour. Which is, I had picked it by looking at the colour rather than looking at the names. And then I was quite surprised to see that it was salmon, because that's not salmon coloured. To me, salmon is more pink. So I will show you what I've got so far. So I haven't had a massive amount of time to work on it, because I was finishing off my son's birthday blanket, which had to be done by Saturday. And then we were doing birthday stuff all day on Saturday for him. And so yesterday was the first chance I'd really had to work on it. And I was so tired yesterday. It was, you know, you have days where it's just like, you're so tired and you just don't want to do anything, but you also can't sleep. Might just be a me thing, I don't know. Anyway, so let's looking at the pattern. This is it on the Red Heart site. So you can see it's got, can we make this bigger? No, we can't. So you can see that it's got these arrows down the side, popcorns, arrows, diamonds, arrows. Okay, so what I have is, I have the first set of arrows, and we have these like third loop ridges on either side of the arrows, and then we have all the popcorn stitches in the world. I was so tired yesterday. Now you'll see on the popcorns, they are very uniform. They're just kind of offset from each other all the way down. So it's very obvious when you put one in the wrong place. And I had to rip it back a couple of times because I was tired and not really paying that much attention. But it's coming out quite nicely. When it's on the floor, I'm 5'9", and that's it on the floor, so it'll be that kind of height. So it'll be a nice decent throw size. And say it's worked side from side to side. The pattern, right? Things that bug me about patterns. no stitch counts. Apart from when it says to you at the beginning, chain X amount, I can't remember how many it is. It's like just under 200 stitches that you chain for it. There's no like, if you want to make it bigger, like add this many chains or whatever. It's literally, this is what size the blanket is, you will make it this size. Which is a little annoying because it looks like the only thing that would really need to be taken into consideration is like these hearts, because everything else is like you do that and you just like carry on. So it would just be however long it would be to get another set of these hearts, and if you wanted it bigger. But that's neither here nor there. So the blanket comes in one size, but there are no stitch counts for your rows at all. After you get told how many to chain at the beginning, you just have to kind of hope that you have it right, which is a little annoying because I don't know if you can really notice it on there, but going between the two sections, there's a little bit of a step there. I thought you might be able to see it better on that side. Because the popcorn stitches, even though it's a bigger hook, is slightly tighter stitches than these double crochets up here. So, right. So you can see that little step. Now, I don't like not having stitch counts, because if there's a little step there because it's a tighter stitch and it'll block out or it'll be better with a border, then that's fine. But I need to know that it's not because I've missed a stitch somewhere or that I've done something wrong. I've been crocheting for long enough to know that it's probably a gauge thing, and that it's just because it's a tighter stitch, because these are all like popcorns and single crochets, whereas this is a lot stretchier because this is double crochets and treble crochets. This is all US terms, by the way. I know I'm from the UK, but I use US terms. And yeah, so there's no stitch counts at the end, which is a little annoying. This is the updated version of the pattern as well that I'm using, so they've not even put them in when they've updated the pattern. The other thing is it does a lot of do rows blah 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 to blah blah blah, and then you do a bit more and it's go back to rows blah 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 to blah blah blah, and I don't like that. I don't like having to keep like flicking between things and having to remember what row correlates to what row and things like that. There's no need for it at all. This is a massive company. They could quite easily afford somebody to write the pattern out, so it's a lot easier to follow, rather than me being like, well, row 26 correlates to row 12 and row 27 is then row 13. You know, I just want to crochet. I don't want to be having to do that much work, especially in a big project. You know, you have a big project so you can sit and just like mindlessly chill out and relax, and yeah, but I'm having to think a little too much. But that being said, I am liking how it looks. I do not like doing popcorn stitches. Any stitch where it's like multiple stitches in one stitch, I am not a fan of, unless it's like a granny square or something, because you don't really need to think about that. But when it's things like popcorn stitch, bobbles, anything like that, any of like the yarn eater type stitches, they just take forever. They're not difficult to do, but they take so long. But they look really nice, and this is going to look so good when it's finished. I like it. I might be quite tempted to keep this one. I think the reason I got it in this colour was specifically so I don't keep it. If I was going to do it for me, I would have done it in pink, but I'm specifically trying to not keep everything. I'm trying to downsize at the minute so that I can move house soon. So yes. Oh, shameless plug moment. In my Etsy shop, I have got all my blankets are on sale. I think it's 25% off sale for the next little while, for me to try and make some room. So yeah, I assume everybody watching this just makes their own blankets, but just in case you're not, you know, Etsy shop, everything is linked down below. Everywhere you can find me is linked down below. I'm mostly on Instagram. So yeah, that's my Stitcher library for this week. We'll see what sort of progress I have next week. And yeah, the next project on the list is a double knitting one, which I haven't done for quite a long time. The double knitting Mario scarf. I'll show you. This one. Ooh, this double knitting Mario scarf. And you can't see it there, but on the ends it has little stars. So is there? See, like on there, the little stars. So that should be interesting. Ah, dear. Yep, so there we go. We are at 16 minutes. I'm going to go and get on with my Monday. So enjoy your week, and I will see you on Friday for the podcast.